2026 sees me travel the length and breadth of England to run a marathon per week in each of its 39 historic counties. Why? To raise funds for Tommy's, the charity that does incredible work to try to end the heartbreak of baby loss. I'll be joined each week by someone who has their own story of loss, their own rollercoaster journey, their own reason to be there. This podcast shares those stories in the hope that they can bring awareness to an often undiscussed topic and even, perhaps, a flicker of light in someone's darkness. You can follow the runs, the stories, and donate to the cause at marathonsformiracles.com. Enjoy. Hello, welcome to week 19 of Marathons for Miracles. Nearly halfway. I think I can legitimately say nearly halfway now. We've only got one more week to go to the halfway point. We're just off the back of London, which was incredible. Hopefully you've seen some of our stuff on socials about what a fantastic time we had at London. Contrast again this week. We're back to our roots, back to what I feel this challenge is really about, which is a nice countryside route in Herefordshire. If we get 50 people there, we'll be lucky, let alone 50,000. So
we get 5 people there.
But these are the ones that they're our bread and butter, these sorts of weeks. So really nice and quite a close one to home for me. So it's a nice, easy journey on Sunday morning this week coming up. Delighted to be joined by Ryan. Hello, Ryan.
Hello.
Very well, thanks. Good. Thanks for coming on. Ryan is sort of friend of a friend of a friend, I guess. Not a complete stranger as some of our guests have been, but we'll go into how we came across Ryan. But as ever, a story to tell and a willingness to run a marathon are much welcomed on this challenge, and Ryan certainly has both. We will get stuck in and open in our usual fashion. Ryan, what is it that led you to be involved with Marathons for Miracles as a challenge and with Tommy's as a charity and their cause?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks, Ollie, for the intro, and thank you for having me on this podcast and for the challenge. It is a privilege and quite an honour to be asked to join the Herefordshire leg. What got me here? Well, as you said, we are friends of a friend of a friend. So it was through my sister at a wedding, you kind of got introduced with each other, and you explaining the challenge to my sister. My sister obviously had a bit of a light bulb moment kind of thing. There is a connection there with myself that unfortunately, like everyone on this challenge has experienced miscarriages or a miscarriage or baby loss. And yeah, so my wife, she unfortunately had a miscarriage of twins. A couple of start of last year it was that she had this miscarriage. We were really quite excited, to be honest. I don't know if you know this, but I'm a twin myself.
Oh, wow.
An identical twin with my brother Jess, sorry. And it was quite exciting. I mean, terrifying as well, because twins.
Yeah.
So we were really excited. We have a daughter who's 3 now, called Mila. So we're really happy that our family will grow in and we could introduce twins into the family, and Mila had brothers and sisters to play with possibly. So yeah. Well, like I said, in kind of like the early weeks of pregnancy, we went for those initial scans, and it started to turn a bit sour. They just weren't growing the way they should have been, and eventually it kind of became obvious that she'd had a miscarriage and that she had to go in and have an operation. So yeah, really sad. There is another part as well that, as I've experienced miscarriage before my wife, with my previous partner. So my previous partner was called Olivia, and I met Olivia in 2017. I hit it off, and we had a miscarriage. And that was kind of like that was my first experience of miscarriage. And I was very confused about it. I was
Mm,
very, I just didn't know how to cope with it, to be honest. And I couldn't fully, I don't know, grasp the situation. She, we went for the scan, and it turned out she was having it ended up being an ectopic pregnancy.
hmm
And the nurses just said that it it might come naturally, basically. And that was the case. And a little graphic here, but you know I was with her when this kind of like naturally kind of happened. And um we were at her parents' house, and we ended up um burying it outside under this tree. And it was just a weird situation, and just never really experienced anything like that before. And I really didn't know how to deal with my emotions with her. It
mm,
was quite surreal, really. I was really sad for her. I was sad for myself. Like, that was I was a person. I was
yeah.
going to be a person. I was going to be my son or daughter, and I'm not going to experience that anymore. And that's, it's a really sad thing about it. Anyway, say a year later, we moved in together. And Olivia was diabetic. And unfortunately, in the summer of 2018, she actually died because of her diabetes. And um, she died pregnant. She was, she was pregnant. And although, so before actually, and I'll come back to that. But yeah, she died of she was having a hypo, basically, and
Mm,
in the middle of the night. And unfortunately, she couldn't come round, and slipped away. And sadly passed away. So things, yeah. So I had to tell the paramedics, oh, she's pregnant. And thinking that, I don't know if that's going to make a difference, or what. She was only, in the, again, early stages of pregnancy. But
mm.
I don't know. Yeah, it's quite hard to talk about, as you can
Yeah,
imagine.
I
It
completely
you
understandable
losing
to hear
two
that.
you're losing a family. Olivia had a miracle baby herself, in her daughter, who just turned 5, sorry, a few months before. And yeah, so we life was completely shattered. Not only losing um, my partner, but losing again, son or daughter. Anyway, during the following weeks and months of that, the autopsy came out, and actually the doctor said she had a miscarriage about 2 or 3 weeks before she died.
Mm,
Didn't really make a difference or anything like that, but yeah. So I'd experienced those two things, those two situations, prior to my wife, now Beth, having miscarriage with the twins. And I coped completely different in
mm,
this situation. Whereas I kind of lost myself during that whole uh, period of my life. I built a family up again after COVID. And I was there to support my wife. I was there to get her through her grief, um, and to kind of bottle my grief up.
mm,
Uh, I know, I know, the questions will come probably after this, but running really helped me to get over my grief, or to help me to channel that grief in a positive sense in my running. So yeah, I felt this time round with Beth, I was there to support and to help her through it. She really struggled with her grief, um, and struggled to cope and to come to terms with what we'd lost. But there's hope. There's always hope.
Mm.
And if I come back to when Olivia died, she was a Christian. And when she died, I became a Christian myself. And being a Christian has really helped me to have that hope that, one day I'll, be up in heaven and they'll all be there. The ones that I haven't met, the ones that Olivia and Beth has had miscarriages, they'll be there. And I truly believe that, and that brings me joy. And it also gives me gratitude of what I have here on earth. I'm so grateful that I have Lexi, my oldest, I have Mila, and I have Solomon, our youngest. So, I'll spend my time here on earth as a father, as a husband, and enjoy that time, having this family and making amazing memories with them. I ran the London Marathon a couple of years ago when Mila had just come onto the scene, and Beth, Mila, and my family, they all came down to London to cheer me on, and what a great memory that is.
Mm.
Did the Chester Marathon, and Beth and Mila came to that one to cheer me on, and those are the memories that I want to build and remember for the rest of my life, I suppose.
What a story, Ryan.
Yeah, Kathy
That's
didn't tell you about Olivia, so I thought I'd keep that for the podcast.
That's heartbreaking. Beyond the miscarriages, we talk about miscarriages a lot, and they're heartbreaking in their own right. But to have lost your partner, I'm so sorry to hear that. But well, there is no but. It's just, I guess the but is. But thank you for sharing with us.
So seriously, it's my pleasure to share and to be able to um, open up about these topics. Like you say on your website about how common it is. You when these things happen, these situations happen with baby loss, with partners dying, or anything like that, with just death in general. Your whole world stops, and you feel so isolated from everything else, and you think it's only happening to you. And then when your world starts to slowly build back up to speed, you soon realize that it is such a common thing, and to then be able to talk to other people that have had similar experiences, and you can start to open up yourself, and talk about your grief, talk about the experiences that you'll probably never have with them, or anything. I don't know. You just being able to open up, to those that are in similar situations really help. That's what I've found. They really do help. And again, from personal point of view, is that being a Christian, it really really helps, to have that hope, um, and to have the gratitude, for what I do have. You know, doesn't take away the grief, doesn't take away the pain that a loss brings. It does help in the hope and the support
Yeah.
of it all. So yeah,
Absolutely. And that rings true with sort of everything I say doing, certainly everything we're trying to do by bringing together a group of people who have these shared experiences and try and put them out into the world. And if other people can pick up on them and do something with them, use them, relate to them,
yes,
whatever it may be, it does bring that, well, hope, as you say, is the key in a lot of these situations where it can seem that there's there isn't an end there.
Yeah.
There isn't a way out. So yeah, everyone finds their way, and there's been a real range in the conversations that we've had, and yours is another story on another way, um, another approach. You've obviously found your hope through your faith and through your religion, but I think there's the key to that, and the key to Christianity is about shared experience, communication, talking to people,
Yeah.
and not feeling alone. And whether you find that company through your church or through your friends or through work colleagues or whoever it may be, I
Yeah.
think being able to have that community and have that connection when dealing with these things is really important. Some questions inevitably. You said about the first miscarriage that you had with Olivia that
Yeah.
you really didn't know how to cope with it, that it sort of wasn't something you could process. What do you think was the driver to that?
I think I never really comprehend that that was ever going to happen.
Mm,
Olivia, she, she was um she was a wonderful person. She'd experienced before that first miscarriage I had experienced. She'd already had several miscarriages. And so it was a real miracle that her daughter Lydia actually came about. So she'd experienced it. So when she got pregnant, she actually told me like, don't expect anything because I'll probably end up having a miscarriage.
mm,
What? What? I mean, first of all, what? I mean, I didn't really fully understand what a miscarriage was.
yeah,
Um, I seriously, I just couldn't comprehend what she's kind of saying to me, and almost being so relaxed about it as well. And so all I'd experienced is obviously I had Lexi at a young age, so I'd experienced pregnancy and the birth of a child. And don't get me wrong, like just giving birth comes with its own complications,
mm.
as it did with Lexi. But I just couldn't comprehend like the miscarriage, like do these things actually happen?
That's actually really quite an interesting take on it, because we've spoken a lot with, well, mine and Amy's own experience and people in similar positions of sort of how do you approach a subsequent pregnancy having experienced a miscarriage or experienced a loss. And
Mm,
obviously it's reasonably common that that's with the same person. Amy and
yeah,
I lost one and then we went again. But
yeah,
to be in a position where Olivia was very experienced with miscarriage and you
yeah,
weren't, and to have those two, to have the mindset together as a couple that we know what could happen is one thing. There are two types of people in the world. There's those who have had a miscarriage and those who've experienced a miscarriage and those who haven't. But
yeah,
to have those two people within the same couple within a pregnancy is must be tricky to navigate. You
yeah.
said.
It was like I said, I was very confused. I don't know whether you want to put this in the podcast, but Olivia came to me with the the egg in her hand and showed me that this here is your baby.
Mm,
We knew she'd miscarried, like we'd had the scan before, and they told her we think it's an ectopic pregnancy. But yeah, and then we came home and within a few days she had the miscarriage, and yeah,
mm,
she and I was like, and that you could see you could see like the makings of a baby right there in her
mm.
hand. And I mean, it'll be an image that will never go out of my head ever. I think having that visual really, it hit me deeper. It cut me up more than I thought it would.
Mm.
And it was, like I said, I was just really confused by it, and I didn't know how to cope. And I guess Olivia Olivia supported me in the way that I was then able to support Beth through her miscarriages. Um, Olivia really did take it in her stride. I suppose because she predicted that this would happen, so then that she could be there to support me in it, and I guess that experience for me led on to, I was able to support Beth, and it's interesting because the grief is so different. Beth couldn't understand why I wasn't
Mm.
and upset about it. And like I said, though, I bottled it up because I knew that Beth was going to struggle. I knew that she's quite an emotional woman, so um, I knew it was really cut her up, and she did struggle. So I wanted to be the rock that she could lean on, and I could be there for her through it. And then I sometimes lead a church service, and it wasn't the next time I led a church, I brought the fact up that we'd had a miscarriage, and it all came out then when I was leading church in front of everyone. Started crying. She's like, "Why couldn't you do that for me, like in private? Why did you have to do it on in front of everyone?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's just it's just you wanna be that support, don't you? For your wife, you want to be
Yeah.
there for her. You want to make sure that she's okay. So when it's in your own home and whatnot, you're concentrating on them and making sure they're okay. But then when I was in church and leading, it all kind of came out unexpectedly. Actually, I didn't think I was gonna cry, but I did,
Mm.
and maybe that's what I needed just to get my grief out.
Yeah. No, I think it probably was the case. I had a similar experience on a podcast that I did
Yeah,
where I was a guest on a podcast early on in the challenge and was sort of recounting our story and what happened to us. And I got emotional then. And
yeah,
it took me by surprise because I think you feel like you've been through it all and you've done it and you've processed it and you've
yeah.
spoken about it loads, but actually running through the events and what had happened sort of blow by blow and saying it out loud, you realize that you probably haven't
No,
done that many times, if ever.
no, yeah.
So I don't think that's unusual. And I think it's probably a typically male thing as well.
Probably is. Yes.
We encounter a lot in these conversations, but it's again, I think one of the key takeaways is often finding an outlet for it somewhere and finding, you described it as bottling it up, like finding a moment and a place to take the cork out, if you like, and let it out. For me, that was talking to other people and probably doing that podcast. For you,
Yeah.
it was that church service. So it's, again, as we said earlier, it's about finding the right way for you.
Well, I mean, I suppose it's a nice segue really into running and exercising is one of those things for me, to let things out. Yeah, with when Olivia died, I really got into my running. It just needed to get that energy. It felt like built up energy, and I just one needed to get it out. And I've always been into athletics. I don't know how much Kathy has told you about our background, but our dad was a marathon runner, and he got us into an athletics club when we were like 9 years old, something like that. And I guess we've always been into sports. My dad, you know, massive footballer, runner, hiker, cyclist. So we've grown up with it and passed it on to us. So maybe not the cycling bit, but certainly football and running. And yeah, and instead of going to like a therapist or anything like that, I just go to a football field or a running track and get it out of the system. And just place where you can when it comes to football. I know this is a running podcast, but I'll get out to that. When it's football, you forget about it all because you're concentrating. You want to
Yeah.
help your teammates. You're just concentrating on football and you're not thinking about anything else. When it's running, and you're on a long run for training, your mind wanders. And for me, you start thinking about everything, and you're talking it through to yourself. In my situation with my faith, I pray, so that really helps me to question everything about life, I suppose. I'm going through a bout of unemployment at the moment, so if I'm running, I'm kind of thinking over that and all that. So it really is like therapy, and I'm sure you and a lot of people that listen to this are probably nodding their heads like, yeah,
Yep.
as I feel exactly.
I'm right there. Amusingly, having done London at the weekend and Brighton a couple of weeks before, you see all the people supporting with their various signs that
Yeah.
and some more amusing than others. But one that I've seen a few times in the last few weeks is therapy was another option. I was like, yeah, fair. But I
Yeah,
think, like you, I
not
think
fun though.
I've never been to a therapy session in my life, but I've often, I think I mentioned this before. I've had evenings where I've come downstairs from work and I've been downstairs for all of about 5 minutes, and Amy basically just hands me my trainers. I don't know what happened at work today. I don't know why you're in a bad mood, but can you just
Oh,
go for a run, please, and then come
yeah.
back?
Get out your system.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have been to a therapist, and running is definitely a lot better.
Yeah.
It is. I found it that way in a way.
But it's as you say, it's about giving yourself literal space, physical
Yeah,
space. Once you've got that physical space, I think you can carve yourself out that mental space as well, can't you?
absolutely.
And yeah, I know I'm not a footballer, but I'm a hockey player, and that's the same.
Yeah, okay.
You're chasing a ball for 90 minutes. You don't think about anything else, do you? And it's sort of,
No.
and just wear yourself out. So yeah, how do I phrase this? We spoke about the sort of quite interesting juxtaposition with you and Olivia, with her experience of miscarriages and your sort of first time experiencing it.
Yeah.
How did you find that? How did you find it different with your pregnancy with Solomon, going into it with Beth off the back of the twins? How was that
Well,
pregnancy for you guys?
the start of it wasn't great. We were so anxious. We were really, really anxious, and obviously we were really happy. And she was pregnant again, and Beth was pregnant again, and we actually went for an early burn. We think actually Solomon was a twin as well. It was two. I think what she said, the nurse said that there was two sacks.
Yeah.
Sorry, and one of them was empty, and the other one was Solomon. So she thinks that maybe there was twins, but Solomon kind of absorbed what was in the second sack.
Mhm.
I think I'm correct in saying that. Um, so that was something. So yeah, get our heads around, like, could have had two sets of twins.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in the early kind of like first few months, we actually went to Greece. We Beth had a horrid time in Greece because she was in a lot of pain, and there was one day, whether it was a Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember, but um, she actually bled quite a bit,
Mm.
and she came out to me or called me, and we honestly thought she had another miscarriage because she was in so much pain.
All the signs were there.
That's a good way to put it. All the signs were there that she had a miscarriage. So as soon as we got back, we went for a scan. Thankfully, she hadn't, but it was unusual that she was. There was those kind of signs. She was put under observation throughout the rest of her pregnancy. I think. I forgot what it's called now. There's a name for it, isn't it? Like high alert kind of thing.
High risk.
High risk, that's it. Sorry. Yeah, high risk. So yeah, she was put at high risk due to that, and but thankfully that was kind of the only kind of big worry. at the 25-week scan or something like that,
Mm.
uh, there was signs that Solomon had a small head, that his head wasn't growing. It was like really small. And anyway, he still has a small head. And he's gone for all the tests. He seems to be fine. He's hitting all the milestones that he should be. He seems like a healthy baby, apart from being a bit lactose intolerant. But fingers crossed. We are still waiting for scan results. Actually, he had to go for MRI scan, which is horrible in itself. You ever been for an MRI scan?
I've had an MRI scan, yeah, and I couldn't
Yeah,
imagine doing
so
that as a 1-month-old. But
yeah, it was yeah, Beth, I said to Beth, like, coming out of it, like, I said, you wouldn't have been able to cope with that because you had this, like, tiny little baby inside this massive machine, being really loud and making loads of noises and trying to keep him still for, like, 45 minutes was a bit of a struggle. But
yeah,
he, you know what, he was a trooper, and we got through it. And we're all still waiting for those scans. Hopefully they come through soon and there's actually nothing wrong with him. Like I said, all the other tests that he's done seems to be okay.
yeah.
I think it's just a matter of like waiting to see how he grows and how he develops, really. But yeah, so apart from that, he is
I think
one really healthy baby.
that's just, it's all indicative though, isn't it? Of you could, when you're in Greece and you have the experience you had there
Yeah,
with the scan, with the potentially sort of small head measurement and stuff, if you're going through that, having never experienced any sort of loss,
yeah,
you just go, is this a problem? As with most things in pregnancy, they say, probably not, but we'll keep an eye on it. And you just barrel on and you think nothing of it. Whereas if you've already been there, you've already
yeah,
had that terrible news, your instant reaction is, well, this is it. Or this is
yeah.
it. So it's, yeah, I think,
There was a question actually put to us because the consultant said to us, like, the way they phrased it was that the scans, the scans that we can do, they're showing that everything's there. All the building blocks are there because that's what they were kind of like scanning for, to see if the brain was all kind of intact and all there. And he said it's is all there, but the functionality of it we just don't know. It's like the eyes. We can see the eyes are there, and the ears are all there as well, and everything is how it should be. But until they're born, there could be a problem,
yeah, you
but you
can't
don't
check
know
that it's
until,
doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing.
yeah, until they're born. And they put it to us that, because of due to his small head, he might have learning difficulties. And, they didn't really beat around the bush that there is a question whether you want to terminate the pregnancy.
Mm.
And, we were never ever gonna say yes to that.
Yeah.
Every life deserves to live. So, we were never going to say that was never an option anyway. And thankfully, they seems to be okay.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah, yeah,
He's here safe and sound. That's, Ryan, you've been through probably more than your fair share of losses and grief. The most important question to ask, I guess, for our audience is what have you taken away from that? How have you coped with those losses over the years, and what do you think you've perhaps done in more recent years to cope better than you did in previous years that others might be able to?
Well, I'm sure it's no surprise to you that my faith is the biggest reason, probably why I'm still around. Actually, it's hard to kind of like separate the death of Olivia and the miscarriages. For me, they kind of all come into one, especially at that point of my life. And uh, the first time round, I didn't deal with it properly. Yes, I had my faith, but I was very early in that faith because it was the death of Olivia that brought me to it. I really didn't cope with it in 2019. Probably the worst year of my life because probably not what the podcast, probably not what the viewers want to hear, but I did turn to alcohol. I did turn to, I turned to alcohol pretty heavily, and I really struggled with all that grief. And I actually almost, I haven't said this out loud before, but I almost killed myself. I almost threw myself into the Chester River when I was on a night out. Luckily, the police got to me first and kind of saved my life. So that really didn't help. And I know in many ways COVID wasn't great for a lot of people, but COVID kind of really helped me to. I suppose it helps me because you couldn't go out and do life properly, and I think that's what I needed. I think I needed to be reined in a little bit and
A reset button.
a reset. That great word. Yeah, I needed a reset, and COVID gave me that reset. It's where I met Beth, and I was able to move away and to move to the village that she lives in Shropshire. So back to your question, faith after that kind of experience, faith has really helped me during COVID and the years following that. In Shropshire, my faith has grown, and I'm able to really lean onto Jesus and to be able to really understand, how precious life is, and to be grateful for it, and to be grateful for what we have right now. We could, I could cry about what I've lost, but it doesn't help anyone that's around me right now. So I'm just very grateful, and I just don't take it for granted anymore. We are very lucky. We are so lucky to be able to experience this world. And for all of its shortcomings, all the news, we are so lucky to be on this world and to be able to experience running marathons, being able to enjoy marathons in other countries and whatnot. And I suppose that's what I take away from it all
Yeah.
is the joy of being.
And that rings true with me. I remember the first marathon I ran, and the only one I had done actually before this year, was about 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks after Amy and I had our miscarriage. And so my training had gone off a cliff in those are sort of important last few weeks. And so I got to about 18 miles and then realized that the last 8 were going to be an interesting period of my life, shall we say. And I do remember thinking about the one that we'd lost and thinking they'll never get to do this. They'll never get to do what you're doing right now. So pull yourself together and get on with it, basically. And enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. Everyone says to you, like when you do like a big marathon like the London, like any marathon, but especially the London one, it's such a big occasion, and everyone tells you just try to soak it in as much as you can. One, you're extremely lucky to be even running the London Marathon now. And I was really lucky. So for Kathy, I think when I did the London Marathon, Kathy had applied or had I'd applied for it like 9 times. So that's 9 years she's applied for it and didn't get in. I applied for it once and got in. And I got in through the pool. Like I think you can, which is really, you're really lucky to have got into it. So yeah, I think I used up all my luck in getting it. But yeah, it's such a privilege to be able to do the London Marathon and to run over the Tower Bridge. It's such an amazing moment. And I certainly, even though I was like, I could feel myself nearing the wall or the cliff, I really was able to buckle up and enjoy that moment, even though when I did it, it was raining. It was horrible. It wasn't like your experience last weekend, where the sun had come out.
I
And
think there would have been a few people who wouldn't have minded a bit of rain on Sunday, but yeah,
the
easy.
start of it was horrid, though. It was like proper
Of course.
wind, rain, and it was horrible. But still, it was what a great moment.
Well, you've obviously done a few, Ryan, and I know Kathy's got some fairly solid athletic pedigree as well, and sounds like you have as a family as well. Were Kathy and Jess running? Did they run the Newport Marathon a couple of weeks ago? Did I see they were running that together?
Yeah, they did it together. Yeah, and they came in similar times as well, actually.
Yeah.
Now, Kathy, I don't know why Kathy was such a rookie mistake by going off too fast. And I don't know why she did that. She's, I guess, the adrenaline. She's an experienced athlete. She should have known better.
Yeah.
As my dad said to her.
Show her how it's done at the weekend. We've got a really nice route, actually. I was having a proper look at the route today. It's starting in Hereford and doing a nice green loop around from there. None of these skyscrapers that I've had at the weekend. So I think we're gonna have a really nice route round. And we've muddled it together for Herefordshire because I was chatting to you guys, and I think you're both from Cheshire originally, and then you now live in Shropshire. Kathy lives in Chepstow.
No, she's moved back to Cheshire now.
She's moved back to Cheshire. I think at the time she was living in Chepstow.
Yes.
So we were like, well, which county works? And obviously Chepstow is just across the border from Herefordshire.
Yeah.
She's neighbouring counties. So we're like, right, well, we'll all meet in the middle and we'll do the Herefordshire leg. But as ever, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lovely day.
Yeah.
It's nice for me to only be an hour up the road for a change. Thank you so much again, Ryan, for sharing your story and sharing your thoughts. It's another incredibly powerful reminder of what people are going through and ways to cope with it. So yeah, really grateful for your time and your generosity with your thoughts and your emotions around it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Is there, am I okay to just pray for us and for the challenge? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Be a first, but yeah.
Right. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with hearts full of gratitude. We thank you for the vision you gave Ollie for those 39 marathons. We praise you and everyone who donated for the incredible milestone of reaching the £39,000 goal. We know that every pound represents a community that cares, and every mile represents a story that matters. Lord, we lift up every family who has experienced the pain of pregnancy and baby loss. We thank you for the promise in your word that you are close to the brokenhearted, and that you save those who are crushed in spirit. We thank you for the assurance we've discussed today that these precious little ones are safe in your arms, known and loved by you from the very beginning. We ask for your continued strength for Ollie as he takes on the remaining legs of this journey. Protect his body, renew his spirit, and keep his heart focused on the miracles this challenge is supporting. As leg 19 begins next Sunday, we pray for safety, endurance, and deep connections between us. May the money raised through Tommy's bring hope, better research, and more miracles for families in the future. We thank you that even in our deepest grief, you are a God of restoration and peace. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. Thank you, Ollie. It's a pleasure.
Thanks so much, Ryan, and we'll see you on Sunday.
I'll see you on Sunday.